There we go. Okay. Are we live? Not. It shows a black screen for some reason. Okay, there we go. You're showing screen now. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So yesterday we went through Ice Age. From what I've picked up over the years doing Card Holla. This year, we're going to go over Mirage. That's what I have here next. I think I have a fairly decent number of Mirage cards. So, I don't know if all of these are Mirage in this box, but I think we might have even more. Yeah, it looks like this entire box, the rest of this box was Mirage. So, yeah, it's even more than we had for Ice Age. This Ice Age, we had 3 stacks, 700 cards that we went ahead and looked up. So that's decent stack cards. You will notice if you watch the other stream and then watch this one or clips from the Ice Age, I've kind of changed my setup on my cameras a little bit here, just so that it's a little bit better of an angle, top down here, and a little bit closer on the phone here. Now, before we start, one of the things I hadn't done last time that I do want to look at this time is we hadn't looked at any of the cards. So I'm going to head over here to Mirage, right? We're just going to kind of go. So like here's the cards. They're worth decent money from here. Some of these cards, like, there's no way we're going to have Lion's Eye, Diamond. Uh, that's been a popular card since the game, since the set came out. Anytime in the last 10 years, I'd be shocked if somebody donated that card. Um, you know, yes, it's 400 something dollars. Be amazing if we found it. Now, Phyrexian Dreadnought, I'm not sure if that's been worth money the entire time. The last 10 years, probably. The tutors, I'd be surprised if we find any tutors. Maybe we'll find some of the cheaper ones. Probably not enlightened. Um, but some of these cards maybe have changed value over the years, and I've been sitting on these for a while. I do want to kind of look at, so sort by group, rarity. So, another thing to think about is these are rares, right? So they're probably a little bit more likely that someone has pulled the rares out. But if we head down here, so here's, did I get down to the uncommons? Yeah, so here's the uncommons. So your tutors are uncommons. Like you have a few cards here. They're still few dollars. They're uncommons. Um, and then going down to our commons. I mean, so lands, which I mean, like there's a land. It's $1.19. That's thing right there on top there. So yes, we're going to have some of these lands. The only card looks like that's common. This in here is Dark Ritual, which has been a popular card since the start, so I don't know how many we'll see. I have picked up Dark Rituals at Card Halla though, so we might see some of those. But so let's go ahead and get started. So obviously I've, same as last time with Ice Age, I've sorted through these a little bit. Sometimes we're going to get cards that will show up, like, you know, obviously at some point I tried to get these in order, but like there's Crash Rhinos and Crash Rhinos again, right? So I haven't gone through all of them, but I have to a degree. Like, hey, we're starting out with 4 of the same card. So Jolt, 4 copies. Same thing. Just going to put, okay, cheap cards over on this side, dollar plus, $5 plus over here. We'll see if we find 4, 5 of these. Yeah, once again, they're of course showing up on the wrong set for some of these because they've been reprinted. Well, that's not a Mirage card. Apparently. Even I make mistakes sometimes. 6, 7, 8. There we go. First card that's worth over $1. 2 copies of I don't know how to pronounce that. What? How do you pronounce Kukemesa? But there's no vowel between the M and the S. So I don't know. It's pirates. Some pirates. I would think. Well, it's counterspell. Sure, but that's not great counterspell memory lapse. Counter target spell, but then put that spell on top of owner's library. It's 2 mana, 1 colorless, so that's a little bit better than 2 blue mana, but it only works on spells and puts it back on the top of the owner's library instead of getting rid of it. Like, if you're going to get rid of a spell, do you really want it to be something that's goes back into their hand the next round on their next turn after they draw? Maybe it would work better if you had something that stopped them from drawing cards. Oh, Zerkan of the Claw, or Zertan of the Claw. That's. I think it's more expensive than anything we found in the last stream. So, $8. Kind of fun. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, considering we haven't gone through a whole lot, found 2 cards that are over $1 and 1 card that's worth, you know, what was that, like 8? Yeah. So another one we were kind of talking about with sometime because these older sets, right? I mentioned this in the other stream, but I haven't mentioned it on this stream yet. But these older sets, so Mirage is one of these sets where, sure, the symbol's here, but there was no common, uncommon, and rare difference in that symbol. So this is a rare card. It's worth less than $1. But normally people pull their rares out before they send them to Cardhalla. Um, but if you have somebody who's donating like, this 10 years worth of what I've picked up of Mirage, and I've been focusing on older cards knowing that there's probably more rares than them. Uh, you know, this is a lot of uh, you know, uh, people maybe had, you know, just a handful of Mirage cards. And since they only had a handful of them, maybe they didn't realize that, no, that's so rare. Another rare, but 2 copies. That's single copy. I mean, that would maybe seem like a decent card, but blue already has a lot of draw cards, so draw 3 cards and then choose 2 cards from your hand and put both on either the top or bottom of your library. Unfortunately, there's better blue cards out there. Maybe if it was a different color, it'd be worth something. 2, 3, 4, 5. Die. Yeah, that did show up as Mirage for the last one. 3, 4, 5. Seedling charm. Here's land. Let's see if that. No, one of the cheaper ones. So there's one of the dollar plus lands. Here's another one. We know that one's, or no, that one's not over $1. That one is over $1. It's kind of where I was expecting most of the value in this in Mirage that I was going to pull out of here was going to be in the lands. Which unfortunately I have not you know, I probably could have picked up twice as many of these lands from Cardhalla as what I've actually picked up over the years, because I haven't focused on picking up the lands. So, I sure I always kind of figured if I ever saw like an alpha or beta land, or a land that kind of looked different, like some of the unglued ones, which I've actually picked up 2 of the unglued ones, or a snow-covered land, which we found 2 of in when we went through Ice Age last night. Yeah. So, since we had 2, sorry, I got a little bit distracted with making sure the stream was still going. So, anyway, as I was saying, I have, kind of some of the lands I focused on making sure pick up, but not when they look like the other lands. Um, which I guess something to learn from in the future, that old black border lands, uh, people want them. So, or some of them. So, I think maybe it has to do with that these are the ones that the artwork hasn't been reprinted on. See, like this one had a reprint at some point, and it's only 44 cents. Right. This one didn't have a reprint, but maybe people don't like that artwork as much. That's why I think it really comes down to with lands, is whether people, think the artwork's cool. That land. So like that's $1.69. It has a little waterfall in the background. I think, was this no, 88 cents for that one. Maybe someday. There you go. $1.48 swamp. Kind of looks a little bit foggy. Almost more like a graveyard than a swamp. Minus the headstones. So looks like there's a couple swamps from this from Mirage that people are liking. Almost think that would be worth something, but I guess maybe not because looks like Nocturnal Raid works on opponent's creatures too. It's +2/+0 until end of turn for all black creatures. You would think that would kind of be something that people would like, but maybe not when it works on your opponent's black creatures also. There's better cards out there that get you a +2 to all your creatures, either based on them being the same type or so on. They're less likely to help your opponent. And I am kind of regretting not picking up more Mirage lands over the years. Because I'll bet you I had some times where I know I've had some times where I've decided to pick up the cards and then not pick up, uh, only take home, the ones that weren't lands that were older cards, unless like if they had a symbol. So, let's see. Charcoal diamond. Oh, maybe is it worth something in Mirage? Yeah, $1.81. Look at that. We have a gemstone that's worth something. Another island that's worth $1. Oh, and I have a second copy of that island right there. Looks like. And a third one. And a fourth one. Kind of curious if those will stay up there in price, because sometimes it's just maybe that that artwork of that island is, you know, maybe there's not a whole lot of them listed and someone's come along and bought, you know, 20 copies of it. I don't know, maybe 20 is too many. But, decided they wanted all that same artwork for their their deck, and so they bought, you know, a deck worth of lands of that specific artwork, and it caused the price to go from, you know, 43 cents up to $1 something, and in 3 months from now, it'll go back down. Who knows? 4. I guess we'll know at some point, because I think one of the things I'll do on these streams will be kind of periodically go back and look at some of the uh, old ones that I picked up to see, hey, has anything, changed in value? Another one of those islands. Two, three, four. Isn't this exciting? Not so much right at this moment, but lots of stuff that's not worth anything, but what you get when you're looking at cards that at least one or more people have probably gone through. There you go. Mind Band, $1.16. So 3, 4, 5. Kind of interesting that Mind Bend. I was just looking at the card there, because I've seen some that say change the text of target whatever by replacing all instances of one color for another. But this is also or basic land type with another. So you can change non-red to non-green or planeswalk to swamp walk. So I always kind of think those cards are interesting that they had them at some point where, hey, we're changing the actual words on a card. Uh like in that case, you know, instances of one color, I guess says that color word. So you couldn't go in and, you know, decide that some word has red in it, and now I'm going to change it so that your card no longer makes sense. Because, you know, what's a word with red? Uh, like neared or something here. Something with a, ends with an R and then you add an ed to the end of it probably would be the most common. And so change that to green, and so suddenly whatever word it is ends with, instead of an ed, ends with a, you know, green. I'm sure there's been judge rulings on that though. Swear I just, yeah, okay. So that Bone Harvest is worth more as the other set that was reprinted as. Uh, Probably as like a promo card or something. A lot of times those they'll print like cards as promos, and then uh, so there's very like limited numbers that are out there. Uh, so they have kind of a collectible value. That, or maybe it's just a really good looking printing. Like sewer rats. Almost $5 card if it wasn't Mirage, then was the other set. So, Cadaverous Knight. 5 copies of that. Here's another Mind Bend coming up. Only one of them though. Be nice if it was you know, last night I had a few cards that were worth some decent money, and then there were 8 copies of them. So kind of like there's 8 copies of this Merfolk Seer. So and 8 copies of Merfolk Raiders. A lot of times it's kind of odd. You'll notice that I have like 8 or 4 of something. Yeah, kind of. If you've ever seen Card Holla, you would think, okay, how do you end up? Well, like a lot of times, if someone has built a tower, right? Like let's say somebody donates a deck of cards, and they had, you know, they really like that. It's a cheap card. They had like 2 decks at some point using that card. They've sorted through all of it, or they donate their, you know, the cards in their decks that aren't worth anything because they walked around Gen Con, found somebody who bought the cards worth something, and I imagine I've never really talked to any of the vendors that buy cards, but I suspect they don't want a lot of the kind of bulk stuff. They have to get it out of there and stuff. So, uh, Oh, what do I do with all these cards that are worth 10 cents? Go donate them to Card Holla. Um, and then you don't have to carry them around all day. Uh, but like when they build towers, right? Those towers usually they'll fold the card in half and then they put flat cards on top, build it all the way up. Um, and so if they're going with flat cards and you have 8 of them, you're going to toss 8 flat cards down. Then when you go clean up, you're, I'm going through and picking up all the cards in a small area. Probably going to pick up, a lot of the same cards statistically. And then I sit down and I'm sorting through all my cards and, all the ones for that year, end up kind of getting put together, close together, uh, when I had sorted through them. So I think that's why, you know, sometimes you'll see 4 cards, something now, like for instance, that maybe was donated with 4 copies of Reality Ripple, but I picked up 3 of them. So I maybe didn't pick up one of them that was used. So you see, like I have 8 of that. It's always a little bit surprising that I have like more often I'll 8 of a card than 6 or 7 of a card. So I mean, I guess it comes down to why would you, if you have tons and tons of cards, why would you keep more than 8 of a card? Uh, like if you're from the perspective of somebody who's not doing it as like to resell them or as collectibles or an investment type person, like, well, nobody's going to invest in a 19-cent card. It's going to potentially cost you more in shipping and everything, and your labor to list it online, right? So the cards people are keeping to play with. I mean, that's enough for putting in 2 decks, the full 4 copies, or you know, hey, I've used my deck and gave 4 of them to a friend of mine. Bizarre Wonders, $1 card. Huh. It's an interesting one. Whenever a spell's played, counter it if a card with the same name is in play or in any graveyard. It'd be amazing. Ever found anything really nice? I don't know. Maybe someday, Wizards of the Coast will replant all the Black Lotuses, and we'll see a bunch of them get donated. Man, that was when Magic the Gathering 30th anniversary. That was definite disappointment because I haven't bought, despite how much time I spend on Magic the Gathering stuff, you know, between Card Halla and then hours and hours of sorting through all the Card Halla cards, kind of sorting through them, you know, afterwards, you know, as much time as I've spent on Magic the Gathering, I haven't bought any Magic the Gathering cards probably since I was in high school. Uh, so, when Magic the Gathering 30th anniversary was announced, I remember I was pretty excited about the wanting to buy a whole bunch of them, you know, maybe get back into playing stuff. It would be a lot of fun to see if people were playing draft, using the 30th anniversary card. Looks like we might have lost connection briefly. Yeah, that's $1.69 mountains. So three of those. I just think that was a blunder by Match of the Gathering. I kind of get that they announced it and then were maybe they had a little bit of backlash from all the people saying, "Hey, but it's reserved. You're reprinting stuff that's on the reserved list. Yes, it's not tournament legal, but people are going to play with this anyway. Uh, all that stuff, and so I get they probably had some backlash, but it would have been fun to buy, you know, 4 or 5 boxes. Personally, I think they should have released it in the same booster box quantities that Alpha and Beta were originally released as, and for the same price. That would have been crazy. And I think they could have still made a profit at that. And so if you could go buy, you know, that all those cards, you know, I think that would have been a lot of fun. Uh, Unfortunately, this is interesting. This is a, you know what? We are, we seem to have hit some cards that are not in English. So sometimes, like, what is this in? Spanish? I don't think it makes any difference if they're in a different language. It's either Spanish or like Italian or something. That looks like probably Spanish. Um, I don't know if that makes a difference. Uh, that they're in a different language. Like, are people going to say, want to spend more money for a card in a different language? Are they going to want to spend less money? Um, I do know sometimes, and it's rare, but sometimes the like I want to say there was like a three kingdoms or something, like it was published in Asia, uh, right, and there were cards in that set that were not actually printed in English, like completely different cards, and so and some of them I guess were actually fairly decent, and so people uh, had them wanted to get those cards. So yeah, I did not mention it, but one of those, this card over here, I just don't know if that's yeah, I think that's I think that's Spanish. I know a little bit of Spanish, but it's like pay three. I think pay three life maybe, and neutralize a something. Uh, it's an interrupt, so or an instant maybe, but it's worth over $5, or the English version of it's worth over $5. I think these are all just going to be considered the same as English versions of these cards. Uh, so I guess the only reason you would potentially want to use them is you legally can use them, I think, in a tournament. And even though they're different language, uh, it still counts. Yeah, okay. So, anyway, what you're saying, Withering Boon, uh, pay three life, yeah. So counter a target summon spell. So 6 words in Spanish if it's that, and then counter target summon spell 4 words in English. So, but that's cool. I have kind of two of those. One of them uh, in English, one of them not in English, so that we can kind of see what the difference is. We also have a dark ritual there, so that's always nice to find some more cards that are worth over $5. This one might be worth $1, maybe. No, 22 cents. There we go. Look at that. Zebra unicorn. Actually, I think at one point I thought about using that in a deck uh, when I was younger, because back when I played Magic, it wasn't too long after Mirage had come out. And so yeah, I was playing elves and I was thinking about moving towards green white instead of uh, just green. Because at the time, white had some more spells that kind of prevented damage to your creatures. Things. I want to say there might have been some benefit, like when you gained life too. A few cards that helped with that, and mine was all built around having like well wishers and cards that Weirwood Lodge and stuff where, you know, whenever you tap the enchanted land, you get additional mana for every elf that's in play and stuff. And so, I won a lot of games as long as the other person didn't have anything that could deal with creatures that didn't attack them, right? Once they were like, oh yeah, I can just creature wipe you or whatever, or I have stuff that can directly attack a creature, and you know, uh, then I was losing games because my elves would die. Uh, and then so starting to look at there were cards that could give protection to specific cards. Like more important elves they had, stuff like that. Prevent damage. Stopped playing though before I really got there. I remember Gaia's Cradle. I remember when I first started playing, I had looked at Gaia's Cradle and thought about buying 4 copies for my deck, and it just didn't buy them because at the time, it wasn't like they weren't super expensive. Maybe $10 or something. Uh, 10, 15, $20, depending on what store you went to and all that stuff. Wasn't a whole lot of online sales back then either. Uh, so you were potentially working on, have to buy from eBay. But when you're a teenager, especially back then, like, you didn't really have a credit card, all that fun stuff. You know, like I spent cash on everything. So kind of hard to buy something off eBay when you don't have when you want to pay cash for it, uh, especially in the 90s and early 2000s. Um, so I didn't buy Gaia's Cradle. Uh, uh, just because it was looking at it, I was like, I can buy more packs of cards or all types of you know for $10 I could buy 2 or 3 other packs of cards instead of buying a Gay's Cradle, and if I'm going to buy one of them, I might as well buy 4 of them. Yeah, I could buy like half box cards. Maybe not half a box, third a box, quarter a box, whatever it was, right? And there were other cards where, Weirwood Lodge, where I was like, I think that's actually, maybe more useful for my elf deck than, a Gaia's Cradle anyway. So Maybe not quite more useful. I'm pretty sure this is over $1. I feel like we pulled that up before. Yep, $1.69. Why does okay, that's not that card. As much as I'd love it to be a $5 waste. It's not a $5 waste. Try giving a couple other cards first. Then we'll go back to this and say, why does it think it's a waste? It's not a waste. Come on, I know I've scanned that land. Back here somewhere. There's mountains. It's that one, right? That looks like the same card. So why is Mana Box saying it's a waste? Do I like have something on it? I don't think so. See if anything in the glare. Nope. That's just odd. Oh, there is maybe that's what it is. There if you look at the glare. You can see some surface damage up in this top corner, so maybe that's why it making excuses for why it's thinking it's a different card. It's not a good excuse for why it's saying it's a completely different card. Oh, there's some damage on that card, so it must instead be like 50-cent card. It's a $5 card. No. Four copies. Fire breathing. Goblin Tinker. Paper Guildmate. We know the power sink's not worth anything. I have to remember to keep my eye open for Mirage lands from now on. Well, we'll see if they're actually still worth anything in almost a year from now. Always interesting when I have 5 of a card instead of 4 of a card. Maybe I picked up 5 out of 8 of that card, or more likely, just well, more likely somebody had 20 of them, and I just happened to pick up 5 out of 20 of them. So yeah, I see I see a land this I remember being worth over $1 here with this waterfall. Oh, look, Drake. It's just different than a dragon. I want to say this swamp was a couple swamps, or okay, that swamp's not worth it, but this swamp is. That was $1.48. That's $1.19. Couple more reality ripples. Remember, those aren't worth anything. Here's Jolt. Not worth anything. Just kind of sad since I have. Always sad to see the ones that aren't worth anything, and I have multiples of them. Like, wouldn't it be great if it was worth, you know, oh look, someone had, 8 Gaia's Cradles, or just, you know, 8 Black Lotus, or 4 Black Lotus. That's dream, right? All the years I've done Card Hall, I have never seen. Sorry, 6, 7 copies of that. I've never seen, or at least I don't think I've ever seen, an alpha or beta card in Card Hall. I've also, I don't think I've seen an Arabian Night uh, card in Card Hall. Right, so like definitely uh, when that question kind of gets asked, hey, does anybody ever donate cards that are worth a whole bunch of money and like you know somebody has gone through those cards before they get donated. At some point, somebody went through, said, "Oh, I know what an alpha and a beta and Arabian Nights. I know what those cards are." Uh, you know, I also have very few or the next sets, the dark and stuff. Like I think when I was going through earlier and separating these by set, that I found 2 copies of the dark. Uh, so there's definitely going through the stuff that other people have gone through and saying, "Oh, is there anything good in here?" And the answer is usually no. Now, obviously, you look up at the top of that screen over there, $172 worth of cards. Um, what I'd love to remind people is, so sure, that's $172 worth of cards, 533 cards. So, you know, sure, there's Dark Ritual dollar card, right? But are you going to go and, Ray of Command, which the Mirage copy of it's 19 cents, are you going to go list that online? It's actually decent condition, but I mean, that's not near mint or anything close to near mint. Or you as a seller going to take the time to go list that, probably get somebody to complain that their card's not perfect when it gets in the mail to them, even though it's, this was released in 1996, so you're talking 28 years old or something. Like, hey, yes, you didn't get the perfect card you wanted, but you know, like, and you're going to spend all that time, you know. You know what? Now I'm almost second guessing myself. No, I think this was the card we were having problems with earlier. Man, again. I have 3 copies of it. Let's just double check that it really is. I know it was pretty far down here. Did I pass it though? No, because it's after those mountains. Oh, you look at that. I think that was, there it is. Yeah, there it is. So why did it scan all the way back there? I mean, that's definitely the same card. All the way back there. It's scanned correctly. And now it's convinced that those are a waste like promo card. That makes no sense. Wait. Yep, 3. And we have one more of the that nice over $1 forest card. I always feel like the cards on the bottom of where how I'm holding them, like, are those, you know, like it would suck if it's a lion's eye or something, and I've been, you know, holding it in my bare hands for however long. Although, if somebody ever donated a lion's eye to Card Hall, I'm just going to be glad. Card Hall cards. Let me see if I have some of them that are tossed down here. You just be glad it doesn't end up like that. All like dinged up because somebody, people throw coins at Cartala to destroy it. So, anyway, where were we? So 3, 4, 5 Binding Agony. Yeah, I'm going to, I'll be right back in just a minute. Okay, I'm back. So, a storm coming through. Actually, I don't know if the rain can be heard on the microphone. Wow, that's a bit beat up there on the bottom edge. So hopefully, prismatic boon isn't worth anything. Just kind of, it's kind of interesting. I'm talking like I have viewers right now. I'm having viewers right now on this stream. Uh, kind of unfortunate, but because I do kind of think it would be fun to actually you know have some people asking questions and such. But really, my purpose for doing this isn't kind of to get a whole bunch of views and all that stuff. It's more just going ahead and documenting uh, kind of what I'm pulling out Cardhalla, and then you know, hey, next year, if like I think every single year somebody asks, oh, well, is there anything good in there? Yeah, and kind of be like, oh, well, you could go look for yourself. Look at that, Lure of Prey, $3.91. So, is there anything good in there? Yeah, there's one card. I should plug my phone. Yeah, yeah. There's. I found a $3 card. So, yeah, I found more than $3 worth of cards, but this is no. This is not all the Mirage cards that were ever donated to Cardhalla. Certainly, Cardhalla has been going on for 25 years, right? I can only imagine what 25 years ago, what got donated. Um, and I've talked to some of the guys who organize it and volunteer and watch it every year. I mean, uh, they have pulled out. Like I was talking to one of them. He had pulled out some Gaius cradles that were donated at one point. Now this was 15 plus years ago, right? So back when they were still under $100, but he was kind of like, yeah, I pulled them out. Saw that they got donated, pulled them out because I knew, they were expensive card. So even when stuff gets donated to Cardhalla, you also have the volunteers that a lot of times will kind of, oh, what did somebody drop off? Oh, well, that doesn't seem that seems like somebody donated some stuff that they didn't know what it was. So, uh, yeah. He was saying that he thinks that's the most expensive card he's ever pulled out. Well, people have said, I remember one guy saying, back when it started, I mean, some of these guys that have been doing Card Hall have been with it for since it started, Gen Con, or pretty close to since it started. And they're like, yeah, I can remember folding a dual land. I mean, nowadays I'm like, oh gosh. But I mean, back then, I mean, that card maybe wasn't worth a whole lot. It had been reprinted and revised to unlimited, or, you know, revised unlimited alpha, beta, like, so a revised dual land. Look at that, another lure of prey. A revised dual land, probably not worth a whole lot. Uh, at one point, yeah. The unlimited version probably always has been worth something, and the alpha and beta definitely. But if you were if you wanted white border dual lands, and let's say you were spending a whole bunch of money on your deck because you're using, like Arabian Night cards and all types of crazy stuff, are you going to get the faded out uh, dual land from revised, or are you going to spend a couple dollars more and get the unlimited one that looks like they actually paid some attention when they printed it? So you're probably going to get the unlimited one and not care about the revised. So but yeah, so kind of funny, you know. I'm saying not much gets donated. Well, obviously, cards over $1. I have 3 cards over $5 that went to Cardhalla now. Compare that to how much. So how much work would it take to sort through all those cards, and to resell them? If you're going to bulk resell, cards that were donated to Cardhalla, you're talking, wow, you're talking bulk of maybe a couple bucks for 1,000 cards. Uh, Especially since they've already been gone through. Like, I can remember this last year. There was an entire box where it was just recent set commons, just commons, nothing else. And they were like, they weren't even the commons that were like you're like, oh, in some situation that common could be good. No, it's like, you know, a common where it's like, uh, let's see if I have just a really like basic, like, okay, here's a three mana flying 2/1, right? Like, uh, when would you ever want to pay 3 mana for a 2 power card that only has 1 toughness? Like most 3 mana cards, you're looking for like a 3/3. Sure, it has flying, but you know what? I think there's some 3/3s out there with flying for 3 mana, or at least it's a 2/2 with flying. You know, so entire box of cards like that where someone, opened them up, looked at them, said, these cards are never going to be worth anything because there's 20 other cards that were printed that could be used in the exact same situation and all of them are better. Right? So, and donated them to Card Hall. Right? Like, imagine the time that would have to go through sorting all that. Um, versus what gets raised for Card Hall. I want to say this last year, uh, they raised between $4,000 and $5,000 for charity at Card Hall. I mean, like, that's 200 times what I've gone through here right now if we actually got them all listed online and sold them. Like, I go take this to some store where online vendor or whatever and say, "Hey, I want to sell these." They'd laugh me out for these stacks, right? We don't even want those. I mean, maybe some of the cards there's like 50-cent lands in there. Maybe they'd be like, "Okay, yeah, we'll take them, but we're going to pay you 20 cents." Right? Or even less than 20 cents, 10 cents, because it's going to take us, you know, work to list them online, package them, send them, lose money on the shipping potentially, all that fun stuff. So now, dollar cards, $5 cards, yeah, maybe I get 60 between 60 and 80% of that they'd give me. Okay. I maybe have $50 worth of, I've spent an hour and 23 minutes scanning cards. More than that, you know, sorting through them uh, prior to this stream, right? Like, even once I have the cards, known them and everything, and there's no questions about, stuff like that, it's still like, this wouldn't be worth somebody's time, like, to actually make like a decent money from. I mean, maybe, maybe if you're like me and you're enjoying going through the cards and you're, you know, you want to see what you have, go through them, all that, you know, all that, see that dollar sign go up, but you know, make 15 $20 an hour working at the Amazon warehouse, right? Sure, some people would say that's a terrible job. Well, go to McDonald's or go find a decent job that pays, you know, 20 something bucks an hour. Uh, just go to California. Yeah. Go to California and get a job at McDonald's, and they'll pay you over $20 an hour, or whatever the minimum wage that they've set over there is. Which I probably shouldn't get into politics, but business. Let's business wise, like or economics. I like talking about economics. So I actually I have a master's in business administration. So, you know, another reason why I'm not doing this to make money. I'm doing it because I think it's interesting. I think other people might be interested at some point. You know, probably not a lot of people, but maybe there's a couple hundred people at some point that are going to be interested in seeing, you know, kind of what's come out Card Hall in the last 10 plus years. Um, but I do think when we're talking economics and minimum wage, right? Federal minimum wage is too low. Um, when you have, a federal minimum wage that's lower than, McDonald's and Amazon and all your entry level jobs, Amazon. So I worked for Amazon for quite a while, and I also worked for a company that hired for Amazon. Um, and the joke, especially over the holidays, was you come in and I remember the first time I got hired at Amazon. I came in, I do the drug test, do this, have to fill out all my information, all this stuff, do the drug test, and the guy goes, okay, your starting date is, your drug test is going to come back in 2 or 3 weeks. Your start date is, like you're going to have orientation on Tuesday, and your start date's going to be on Thursday next week. And I'm like, wait a second, this is Thursday, so I start in a week, but my drug test's not going to be back by then, right? It's going to be 2 or 3 weeks. He goes, look, you're right before the holiday season. Like at this point, you know, they don't care that your drug test hasn't come back yet. If your drug test comes back and you're not good on it, they're going to let you go. But meanwhile, they're going to have you work. Uh, you know, and the joke is that when you walk in here, yeah, we could almost do a test where we'd hold up a mirror and tell you to breathe on it and then go, oh, it fogged up. You're a living person. You're eligible to work at Amazon. like, like we'll hire you. So, this was just a few weeks before Black Friday. It was before Amazon had started doing Prime Day, right? So uh, a lot of their business, Black Friday was huge back then. Um, so they, you know, they were just hiring everybody they could get in the building. It didn't matter. Can we get nope, I think I only had 6 of those. Can we get a week worth of work out of you? We can. Perfect. Doesn't matter if we have to let you go afterwards, as long as we can get the something out of you. So come on, there we go. Feel like I need to get these cards. Okay, that's going to be a pretty big stack there. Yeah. Anyway, what was I saying? I was talking about minimum wage. So the minimum wage is too low when your companies, are paying, you know, are going to pay so much more than minimum wage, just just immediately without even ever hiring anybody at minimum wage. Uh, it's too low federally. Now, 15-20 bucks an hour for fast food. I know I have had this argument with people about, hey, should we be paying fast food workers so much money. And people are like, well, it should be a living wage. Well, let's be honest. If you're working as a fast food cashier, and that shouldn't be a career for someone. It shouldn't be somebody's, hey, that's my dream job that I want to work the rest of my life is, a McDonald's cashier or work a McDonald's drive-through. Now, if that's a stepping stone into getting into management at McDonald's, that makes sense to me. If it's, but there's programs at McDonald's where, they'll hire people, all of these places, they'll hire people for, a management trainee or whatever, and they'll pay more for that, right? That's not the starting wage already. But, if you're a high school student during summer, if you're picking up some extra money because it's a part-time job that you're working at after your other job, like, should that be paying a living wage to the point where it pays more than, you know, other jobs? Like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Um, like, I'd say, you know, a fast food cashier, you know, that is the entry level, pretty much as low as you get on the rung for jobs. Like, and maybe some people will say, would be upset by me saying that. Maybe because they were a cashier. I mean, my first job out of high school, I worked at Subway, so I kind of get it if you're saying that was a great job. Okay, it's a great job for somebody who has no experience. Who's still living at home or whatever. Actually, wasn't living at home at the time, but I had already moved out. But like it, yeah, it's a great job to get some experience, get into the working world. Should it pay as much as, like, let's say I get an office, like should it pay as much even as an Amazon job? The Amazon 10-hour shifts on your feet 10 hours, right? Like you get two 15-minute breaks, a 30-minute lunch, which actually means you're there for 10 and a half hours, right? Because lunch doesn't count towards your clock. Like, and we're going to say, yeah, I think a McDonald's cashier should get paid as much or more. Like, no, no, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So we're down to the last few cards here. So six. We've had a run of lands here at the end, which is nice. Like, while I was talking about minimum wage and McDonald's and Amazon and stuff. Uh, so kind of nice to see some cards towards the end that were, I mean, nothing over $5, but dollar something. So the last card, Boomerang. So yeah, so we had 3 cards over $5. Uh, actually, fairly decent condition on the. I mean, they have a little nick there. Edges are beat up, but I've certainly seen worse coming out of Card Hollow. So, one of them being Spanish, kind of interesting. I think that's Spanish. Una vita per una vita. So life for life. Life for life, except that's really a life for a life. So, I think. Because wouldn't it be vita per vita? If it was or vita per vita? Something if it was life for life. Uh, they translate it as a life for life. So we have some cards here. I'm going through these. I'm going to go ahead and get these in sleeves. Let's go ahead and sleeve up everything while we talk some more. And let's get this stack out of the way. So these are all our cards worth under $1. Yeah, all these stacks. These are more Spanish cards. Whatever. You're on it. Focus kind of bad because let's try and focus on. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so lots of cards that weren't worth a lot. $233.96 total. We're looking at 724 cards, which is 30, I want to say 34 more cards than uh, we had in Ice Age. So, and actually, I think some cards that were, I want to say, how much was my Ice Age total that I had? Let's look it up. So Ice Age yesterday was $230 worth of cards, and this was $233.96. So actually, probably close to the same price per card. So of Ice Age and Mirage. Um, Another message saying my battery's low. Which is interesting that they're about the same price per card. Maybe kind of means that these are just going up in price, or a lot of these are going up in just price because of the age, where people are saying, no, I want you know yeah, I want to get a full set of Mirage or something, or just so many of them after 28 years have been donated to Cardhalla and destroyed. Right? If only that's what happened to all Magic the Gathering cards, as they went to Cardhalla and then got built into towers and destroyed for charity. Like, wouldn't that be the dream? But that's certainly not what happens to, I'd say, the majority of Magic the Gathering cards. Right, they're getting just thrown away in the trash can at some point because there's so many printed, or sitting in some TCG store where they bought bulk, or people's basements and attics and stuff. I've always wondered that. I used to live in the Pacific Northwest. Like, how many people have an alpha or beta Black Lotus where it's just in the basement, in the attic, you know, or just alpha and beta cards in general. Like, they used to sell Magic the Gathering at Nordstrom. Uh, I can remember, unfortunately. I mean, I have great parents, but they had bought into the whole Match the Gathering cards are bad, which, I mean, let's be honest, the skeletons and all that stuff. In 1993, I was uh, 7 years old. Like, yeah, do you want your 7 year old playing Magic the Gathering? I mean, nowadays, I think most people would be fine with it. But when it first came out, I mean, they had a few unholy power with the pentagram in the background. You know, you have ghosts and skeletons on your cards, and you have, uh, pictures of. Yeah, I mean, like, just take a look at that. Bone Harvest. I mean, do you want your 7 year old playing with cards like that? Uh, maybe not. I mean, I can get if you're parents and you play Magic the Gathering when you were growing up, maybe you don't worry about too much. But I could see in the 90s parents, you know, looking at that and going, hey, I don't really want my kids, involved in all of that. So, uh, but unfortunately, meant I did not get into Magic the Gathering until closer to high school, uh, which meant, you know, I don't have any alpha or beta cards. So let's see what so we have a few different land types here that were worth something in Mirage. Uh, I know somebody's probably taking all your cards that are more than $1 and kind of not treating them perfectly well. Whatever. Where that times out. Okay, so cards that weren't lands that we picked up, right? Obviously, Zeratin the Claw, you know, two of these Withering Boons. Uh, right, so those are over $5. Cards that are over $1 that aren't lands. So two of these Pirates, a Charcoal Diamond, two Mind Bends, a Bazaar of Wonders, two Dark Rituals, two Lure of Prey. Uh, right, so that's a handful of cards. What's more interesting, I think, is the fact that, we have five of these forests that were over $1. Uh, four of this swamp. You know, six of these mountains. Let's see how many of this swamp. 4, 5, 6, 7 of this swamp. Oddly, more of these lands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of these islands. Right? So kind of interesting you have so many. I mean, just when you look at which cards in Mirage, by what's been donated to Cardhalla, like, these are the cards that aren't lands, these are the lands. What is that? Twice as much of the lands? So that's interesting to see, and it kind of bears to show that, yeah, people go through the cards in Cardhalla. 700 something cards. I found this much, and some of these cards I've been sitting on for you know up to 10 years. Some of them to I don't think. I mean, I was definitely playing back when like Mirage was around. I don't think I bought any Mirage packs of Mirage, and none of these like charcoal diamond, none of these cards, that aren't lands would I have bought myself back like just in case I've gotten some mixed in. I guess it's always possible that I bought like some of these forests myself. I don't think I really would have bought a waterfall forest to put with my elf deck though. Like a forest with a waterfall in it. I probably would have bought something more with trees. So like I'm thinking these are all stuff definitely from Card Holla. So yeah, and we had one card that wasn't Card Holla from the beginning of the stream. So anyway, or wasn't Mirage. So I'll have to get that put with that set. Anyway, that is the end of this stream. I'm going to probably get these boxed up, figure out what the next set I'm going to go through and do, and then go ahead and put the next set up. So go ahead and stop streaming. That's the end of streaming for now. I'll be probably back in 15-30 minutes to do another set or two.